Hello, everyone. Welcome to the leftovers. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Hope everybody had a happy holiday. We're back from our 2 week break hiatus, and we're going to have a lovely time talking about stuff. We have our friend Tim on, who is one of our players on the main. I say the main channel, I guess, for lack of better words, the gaming channel. And Well, I'll let Matt get into it. We have some quick announcements to make, and then we'll get into it. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, sure. Hey, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025, and Leftovers is back. Like Sean said tonight, we're glad to have on our cast member and zombie GM. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking a little bit about Tim, and we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead from Free League Publishing. We had a chance to play it as a group at our yearly gathering, Geek Weekend, here just about a month and a half ago, right? Time flies. And just want to say, hey, the new year is getting started with a bang. So, of course, this is our schedule. We're about wrapped up for, we've got about January about sealed in the bag. Tonight, again, we're talking about Walking Dead. Next week, we're going to be talking to Joel upon the Fifth Throne, talking Acid and Steel, which is a post-apocalyptic kung fu game, which right away, I'm like, you got my attention, right?
Yeah.
I think what he talked about, like a Fist of the North Star, right? So
Kwai Chang King.
Oh my gosh. So that'll be fun. The 16th, we have special guest. The Big Campaign podcast is going to be on. So I don't know how many folks who listen to us already listen to them, but it'll be great to have them on to talk about their show. 23rd of January, not sure yet. We'll have something. And then we're going to wrap out this month with some very special guests. And you've probably seen us, Nathan and I. Well, you haven't seen me, but you see Nathan in alleyways with these fine folks. Clash of Crits. And so we're going to have them on and that. So look, we are off to a rolling start. And without any further ado, I'm going to get rid of these PowerPoint slides and get right back into the meat of this.
Hey, quick question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
So Tim.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to talk about The Walking Dead and with the game we played and how we liked it. But what we're actually doing is we're doing your interview.
All right.
So awesome. we're gonna spend a little time talking about Tim. So if anybody doesn't know, if they ever go to our main page, the www.AARPGS.com cast, you'll see interview links. And Tim has been rightfully so getting on our asses about doing an interview with him because we had scheduled one, then we didn't, and we didn't. So we're going to do a quick interview with Tim.
So I would like to point out. Oh, you actually posted it. Look at that.
You're on there. You just don't have any. There's no interview.
So this will be linked to the interview eventually after we get done.
See, this just revealed the fact that Tim doesn't go to our website.
That's true.
Yes.
I'm
like
the worst. I'm the worst cast member of all time. I really am. It's true.
No. That's Chris. That's Chris. So
right. Sorry, I don't want to take that away from Chris. You're right.
Don't take that. Chris doesn't have much left in life either. Don't take that. He has his car, his lovely wife, but
like a house, a job, steady income. He's doing okay.
No, he's not. He's terrible. It's terrible. His dresses don't fit right anymore. He's gained some weight from the holiday. No, I'm just going.
Well, that happens to us all.
Yeah. So Tim, basically when we usually start these things up, so just
introduce yourself.
And
sure.
what we're going to do is tell how you met us, basically. Okay. And opening up is always is the beginning of how you got into role play gaming like this. Not bedroom stuff, the real stuff. I know you go down that track sometimes. I just want
I like to play the naughty nurse from time to time. Most of us met at college. I came a little late to that game. You guys are, let's face it, a little older than me. Not a lot, but a little bit. And so I came a little late to the college where we all met. Is that known stuff? Do you guys talk about? Okay.
Yeah, we talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Prince George's County Community College in Maryland. We all kind of met there as part of a gaming society. I actually started the science fiction club so that we could have more space up there in the club offices after I first started there. And I brought a few notable names to the table. Some of the people that I knew from high school kind of infiltrated at that point, and so I brought a posse with me. We just had a really good time playing all of the games. Now, that was my first kind of deep dive into gaming, was PG. I had
played.
Wow.
I dabbled in D&D when I was like 12 at some like parties, pool parties, stuff like that. I was a real swimmer growing up. Not ever
Sorry.
I know what, Matt. I could see Matt going, I was a real swimmer, and he thought something else. That's all.
Yeah, like a real swinger. All right, so D&D at the swimming party. So swimming
Yeah,
and D&D was tightly linked in your.
Well,
where you were?
so we used to have like sleepovers and stuff at the pool, and
Yeah.
and
Gets worse.
somebody would eventually, somebody would have a dungeon crawl or something like that, and I enjoyed that. I did that 2 or 3 times, not often. It wasn't until actually I went to Embry-Riddle back in '89. I met some guys in the dorms there who were playing. At the time, Heroes Unlimited was the game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And I played Heroes Unlimited there for all 3 semesters I was at Embry-Riddle. Man, I loved that campaign. I loved hanging out there. It was like a ready-made group of friends. It was just, everything just kind of clicked. Oh yeah, look at that. Heroes Unlimited. Look at that. I don't even have my old book. That's a much newer book than mine. I'll tell you that.
yeah.
Mine is all yellowed and dog-eared and
Well,
it's got notes in it.
Matt glazed it because he was so excited. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually where at PG is where my nickname came from. Down here, you'll see Mitt Mortimer. I was there were a couple of female friends there that were making fun of me, Tim, because there was another guy named Tim at the time who was hanging out, and he was a lot buffer than me. So I said, well, I'll just be the reverse of Tim because I'm the fat slob, so I'll be Mitt instead of Tim. And one of them was like, yeah, but you need a last name. And for whatever reason that week I'd said I'd found out that Mickey Mouse's first name or original name was Mortimer Mouse. And I went with Mortimer. And she was like, oh, that's a lot of fun. That's like more Tim, more. And I was like, all right, that's it. That's stuck. I'm Mitt Mortimer.
Yeah.
I'm Mitt Mortimer from now on. And then somebody later on, it was Kay, who you guys remember Kay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
No,
Kay.
I know.
Kay Aparacha is his name. He helped me out with my tagline, the God of Hellfire, after I rolled like 2 crits in a row at the table and defeated the bad guy and all that. It was Mitt Mortimer, the God of Hellfire, and then that just that stuck for me. But yeah, my evolution was not. I was never like really into the gaming. I loved to read books. I was a huge sci-fi fan. So that's why it says in my linked bio there that I love the story. I'm a big believer in the story. I really, really don't like game mechanics. Not a fan. I really don't. I hate game mechanics big time. If you have to spend like 15 minutes figuring out, all the pluses and minuses for your roll, and then you roll the dice and it turned out to be a crit 20 or something like that. Wow, that's a wasted 15 minutes on my life I'll never get back. So
given that, what are I mean, because I know all of us have played tons of systems, but what are some of your favorite systems that you've played?
GURPS, believe it or not, after all of that.
Well, hold on, wait a minute.
I know. GURPS, yeah.
Like the new GURPS or the old one?
GURPS 4th edition.
4E, the one we all played.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is that yes, it takes a long time to create a character, and there's all of the math involved in creating the character. But the way that the people that I played GURPS with played it, it was all about reaction rolls, and you didn't have to stop the story. You could just keep going. So, for example, like if I wanted to shoot a guy in the head from across the room, blah blah. There you go, GURPS 4th edition.
That's it.
Yeah, Steve Jackson Games, shout out. I clearly my favorite system of all time. you just roll the 3 dice. If you get a high reaction roll, you incorporate it into the story. You get a low reaction roll, you incorporate that in the story. And it's only in like that middle area where you rolled a 10 and you have to like kind of figure out, is it plus, is it a minus? I mean, do you have the skill necessary to handle that? So
No, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
and Malcolm and Matt Brady, the other Matt who passed in 2014, he was a master at just rolling the dice and coming up with some crazy fun stuff for us to all build a story around.
And Matt he used GURPS, but didn't he run Star Trek?
He did. He wrote a whole Star Trek source book in GURPS, and I still have it. Because I handled his estate after he died. I still have that source book. If anybody wants it, just reach out.
Oh, really? So he did like an entire homebrew conversion at the time. Like there was no Star Trek book or anything like that. Because I know there's sci-fi books for GURPS, but
there's GURPS Space and GURPS Ultra Tech and all that stuff. Yeah, but
GURPS, you can do that with GURPS. You can sort of build stuff with it home, as we call now, homebrew. Yeah. No, GURPS did have that simplicity to the dice rolls. I did find, even though, depending on who was running the system, it could be very lethal.
It is true. You make a fun point. Like I kind of laughed at you, but GURPS playing is simple.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do is making your character. After that, it's not very complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
The systems to play aren't super complicated.
But once you get it down, it's not that. I didn't think it was that hard. Once you got it down, it's no different than champions having to assign points and this and that, and then you got advantages and disadvantages, and you can't unbalance a character as one of our friends did, using advantages like super magic in your character. James did, remember that, and depending on how you want to.
There's also Leroy's magic pencil.
Oh yes, that was awesome too. Yes, good old our late friend Leroy. But there's always a way to abuse something, or but that's a game master has to rein that in. But that's in any game system. I did enjoy it. We've never. God, I haven't played that in years. I haven't played that since probably 20 years. But no, that's cool. So you liked GURPS. What is your least favorite system?
Oh God, I'm gonna piss off somebody, but whatever I say, I'll piss off somebody.
No, it's fine.
It's fine.
What's the one with next of clone? The one
Paranoia?
that everybody. I hate Paranoia. God, that system gave me such a headache. Oh my God! Every time, and I think it was probably more about the guy that was running it the first time than about anything else. There was an interesting system that I was intrigued by that really let me down. It's called Amber. Are you guys familiar with that?
I've heard of it, but never played it.
It's a dice.
Amber a diceless, right?
It's a diceless role playing system. Yeah.
James was into that. He had wanted to run something like that. Yeah. I don't really remember the mechanics beyond if I have a sword of 3 and you have a sword of 2, if we get in a fight, I always win. But you might have like a cunning of 3 and I have a cunning of 2, and it there's a fine line between, TTRPG and I don't know, just pure improv.
Yeah.
You have to have some mechanics. Even LARP, the one time I tried LARPing, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I think it's interesting. It had mechanics. Like you'd act stuff out, but when it came time to do something, there was either I can't remember if we rolled something or I think we used rock, paper, scissors. It was some weird, it was a vampire one, but it still had a mechanic to kind of ground you.
I think the one and only time I ever LARPed was a vampires game too, is White Wolf.
Yeah.
And we just we just took our characters and we were.
You guys are weird goths, man. I'm telling you. You just play vampires and walk around.
I feel very gothy.
Yeah.
You look very gothy.
Yes.
I forgot all my eyeliner today.
Right.
Yes, I never remember Tim ever being gothy, by the way. So that make I've never played Paranoia, but I've heard some interesting comments about the game.
Yeah, it just gave me a migraine. Yeah.
Nathan threatens to run it like the last 3 or 4. He brings the book to Geek Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't
we're
know.
like,
I've never played, so it sounds like a hilarious game, but maybe I don't know.
It may have, it may have changed. It may have just been a bad GM the first time around too. I don't know. He was
that could
very
do
much
it.
yeah, he was very much focused on getting people to harm each other. And that's not a story in my mind.
No, that's cutthroat. So something interesting about Tim that people don't know is Tim plays characters, and you heard that on the podcast. But he also runs games, and he does it rather well. And I'll give you an example of something a little out of the box he did. We played a vampire game 2 Geek Weekends ago, and it was in a zombie apocalypse. We didn't know it initially. But we're playing like, oh, why are we stuck? And the premise was we were trapped and we are getting out. And as we're getting out, we learned there's a zombie apocalypse. And we're like, okay, this is different. What happens if the zombies bite us? We're already dead, sort of, right? We didn't know. And then there was some that apparently turned, but it was really, really neat. Tim also plays an alien, the perfect corporate guy. The perfect corporate guy. And
I make you want to kill me.
Yeah, and Chris did kill him. That's interesting. So, but between the two, Tim, of gaming and running a game, do you have a preference, or does it just doesn't matter to you?
Well, obviously the low calorie solution is to just play the game. Let somebody else do all the work. Yeah. I mean, when I get into role playing, I'm a consumer of somebody else's story, and I love that. It's something brand new to me. But when I get into running a game, I'm trying to get other people to consume a story that I want to tell, and that's hard because players will inevitably let you down and want to tell a completely different story from you.
I love doing that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. That's okay. I died for it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's right. You're the one I killed in the Walking
Well, you
Dead
sort of left
story.
a hole for you. I was a hook for a story plot line. You said we have to take him to
You
Atlanta.
were dead. You were.
I said I was dead. Yeah, I failed too. So we were playing. We're going to talk about
fact
the
that
story.
you were lying on a floor on fire with no hit
Yeah,
points.
we were playing Walking Dead, and what we learned in Walking Dead doesn't matter what you have on, fire can get through it. And I had 2 horrible rolls, and I didn't know I could push. And Tim doesn't like game mechanics. Said, "Nah, you can't do that now." And then I just burned.
Just
But,
work with the story.
It was a great death. It was an amazing death, because
Somebody had to die. You were
Well, it
it.
always seems to be me recently in the last couple of years in these games, so I've noticed. But it's okay. I have the worst luck it seems, but it's okay. I have good deaths. But that makes sense.
I will say this: in Dragonbane, your character creation, you should
Was
put a
hilarious.
link up when you edit this later on. If you're going to edit this, I know we're live right now, but
Yeah.
you should put a link up to the character creation that we did for
Oh, yeah.
Dragonbane. You rolled horribly.
Oh my!
Oh,
I have,
that was the worst. That was the worst rolls I've ever
that was the most
encountered.
adequate character. Just like everything was like we're rolling, and so everybody. If you ever go to our first dragon, which we could add that. I might be able to pull it up and add it while Matt continues to talk. When you create characters, sometimes you roll good, sometimes you roll bad, or you roll just adequate. Like if the middle score was 10, that was my score. My mean score was 9.8 from all my rolls.
Yeah.
And I still had fun with the character. I'm at a cliffhanger moment with him right now in the game, which we'll resolve next week. But it goes back to like sort of Tim, like you said, it's not necessarily about the stats. It's sort of how you play it, reactions and all that, which I think I agree with you, and Matt would agree with you as well. Matt, do you have a question you want to ask? I don't want to keep you cut off. While I do this research real quick.
No, go ahead.
Ask something while I pull up my YouTube video. And
Sure. This is, so Tim, given all the different games stuff you've played, do you have any favorite characters?
Wow. So, yeah, there are a few. We mentioned Leroy earlier. Leroy, for about 4 years, was running White Wolf vampires for us, and I had a character throughout that 4-year time span that I really loved. His name was his real name was Jack Fleming. He was a World War II kind of Flemish resistance guy from World War II who got turned into a vampire. And he was just out for, it was this where I came up at the time I was toying with turning disads around on their heads. Like I had a character who was intolerant of people who were intolerant, right? and Jack Fleming, whose vampire name was Jack Shadow, he was a gangrel who actually the book on him was that he turned frenzy into a skill. Like he intentionally frenzied just so that he could do more damage, be more bloody. And here I'm playing in a campaign where some of our friends were trying to climb the humanity ladder, and they want to, their goal is to someday walk the halls of the Vatican. And
Yeah, I hate that. I hate the humanity fucking thing.
And I'm like,
if you do something fucked up, you lose humanity. I hate that shit.
You are an undead creature of the night who sustains themselves on the blood of humans. Stop trying to be the good guy.
I got punished from that. I tried to do something funny, and I got punished for that in the game once. I said, God, I hate humanity. Hate it. Because if you lose too much humanity, you go feral. And I'm like, this game's just depressing. It's so gothic. Of course it is. It's vampire.
Right, so, exactly. Yeah. And those were the eyeliner days for both.
Yes, those were the eyeliner days. Those were the days of the Cure. Yeah. So by the way, this is the link.
Ah, nice. Well done.
For the Dragonbane Session 0. It's very lengthy, but I'll leave it up for a minute. That way, if anybody wants to copy it or hit it, you might be able to pull it up and check it, and you can see some good character creation. But so that's oh crap! My brain just leaked out of my ear. It's gone. So
Jack Shadow is one of those characters that I loved. I had a guy named Keith Skillman. And his name was a joke because I was playing in GURPS and I wanted him to have every skill in the book. So I called him Keith Skillman.
Half a point in each skill, yes.
Yeah, and I truly enjoyed that game. It was just Matt and Malcolm and I, and occasionally there were other people who would drop in for a few months here and there, but that was just such a fun game. I was working downtown at the time and Matt was living in DC, and I would just walk up from work on a Tuesday night and we would play. So Keith Skillman, a couple of my Star Trek characters were noteworthy as well. I had a guy named David Messer, who was he was like it was interesting. He was like a low empathy psychologist, kind of. I don't know.
He'd listen to your problems, but he doesn't really care about your problems.
I'm not really impacted by your pain and suffering, but the book says you ought to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just a lot of there were a lot of characters, but the characters that I enjoyed the most were the ones that had that unusual hook that would give them kind of a meaning to their existence that allowed the story to move forward.
Now, that's pretty cool. Now, with our gaming system, now we're going to get into this game in a second. We're almost at the break time where Matt pushes something.
Okay.
But we're is there any game you would like to play, like something you haven't done yet? Like
so something I haven't done yet, or something I would like
something
to
you've
do.
seen or you like to do. It can also be something you've done before you like to revisit. I'll open at that door too.
Yeah, there was a game that Malcolm ran many years ago, Mobile Suit.
Mobile Suit, yes, I remember that.
The way that he ran that game was so revolutionary and mind-boggling to me. Every player had 3 characters, and this might be interesting for other people who are running space campaigns out there. The goal was, it was kind of like an Aliens-esque setup where we were part of a military and we were going to this star system, and that's the one colony in that star system we had lost contact with, and we were going there to investigate and figure things out. And we went as part of a fleet. It wasn't just like one ship, it wasn't the Nostromo or anything like that, but we went to this system as a fleet, and everybody had 3 characters. They had a naval character who was basically a starship captain, and there were enough ships in the fleet that everybody could have a starship to themselves for when we needed to do a naval combat session. Everybody had a mobile suit character that was kind of their main character that would command a mech as part of a company of mechs, and we would go on mech level kind of combat scenarios and things like that. And then their third character was an infantry character, and we had a platoon of characters, and you got to see all 3 layers of that combat and how they interacted with each other. And your characters would sometimes interact, like sometimes the mobile suit characters from the company were aboard a carrier that was being commanded by somebody's. It was just the way that it made you invested in all pieces of what was happening in this star system. It was just so intelligent and well thought through, and the story was so compelling. I would love to do that again at some point.
So that's interesting, because that was always one of the things that you tend to run in some of the sci-fi games, right? With like the big fleets, is you have a character who's like, I'm your ace fighter pilot, right?
Right.
But then you go to the ground and he doesn't have anything to do, or you're in space and nobody else has anything to do. It's kind of an interesting way to handle that. It's definitely complex. So you're talking about trying to jump between like in your brain.
That's complex for Malcolm. Running that. Jesus.
Right.
But he had built this amazing universe, and I think of it as the space above and beyond problem. Remember back in the early 2000s, there was that TV show.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to have a ground pounder type force, but they also wanted them to be fighter pilots, and so you always found them in these weird scenarios where these people who are fighter pilots leave the carrier. So I don't know where they came up with other pilots for their fighters, and they would go and
pilots.
Yeah, no, it was like, well, you're a Marine, you do this and this, and
you went from being just a rifleman to a pilot. All Marines are pilots. What?
Yeah, so odd, but yeah, they didn't handle that gracefully, but Malcolm did. You just have more characters, you just have more more resources that you can draw on.
Malcolm had a larger budget than that show.
Yes, he did,
and I love that show. But
I like that show too.
That's why they if they had the money to have another set, because I think in Battlestar you had people that went on the ground and you had people that didn't, right?
Battlestar was more layered, definitely.
Yeah.
So that being said, now comes to the part of our show where Matt takes over for a few seconds. So let's let Matt
seconds. We'll keep it short.
He's going to push something here. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Sort of pushes something.
All right.
No, so this is the time of the show around halfway through where I shamelessly plug heading over to our.
Ooh, I haven't seen the Quiverwing shirt. Open up
you
the
haven't
Quiverwing
seen
shirt.
the Quiverwing shirt?
No.
So I'll be honest, these are the ones where Nathan put the artwork in. I still need to go back and add shirts that are the cards. I have one for only one for Brain. So we have all of the characters from our Dragonbane. Like I'll show you the difference. Do I have one?
The mug should be white.
And then I have all of the characters right in one shirt, and of course the miserable beast, right? And maybe I don't have one for that, but yeah, there's another style that we're not showing. Oh, it's invisible because we're not selling it. That's kind of like a baseball card or a playing card with all the characters as well. But again, I know Christmas just came by. Everyone's probably waiting for that first credit card bill to arrive after Christmas. But, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Valentine's Day.
President's Day.
President's Day. Lincoln's birthday.
That's right, right.
Tivoli.
So
Give me
head on
something
over.
Quiverwing for Flag Day.
That's
for
right.
Ramadan, everybody just buy one of our
That's
shirts.
right.
while you go to prayer.
Whatever you got, right? And so any good excuse to buy a gamer in your life or yourself who's leveled up their age stat. Also, if you get a chance, Like, follow, subscribe. It really helps us to get more viewers, reach more people, feed the algorithm, and that's it, Sean. I'm being quick today.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. You people don't know how many years I leave off my life. Seconds just leech away that I could be spending making my millions. Yeah, that's not true.
One PowerPoint slide at a time.
Yeah, one poor death by PowerPoint. Anyway, that's great. So now we're going to segue into what the other part of our show is, the Walking Dead game. Here again, Walking Dead universe, which we played at the our Geek Weekend, and Tim ran, and I got to admit I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it to death.
Enjoyed it to death. Victim of the dice. But it's a character was rolling up till the end. He was popping all sorts of people. But it's a gritty game. It is a gritty game, and it has a lot of potential, I thought. And I'll let Tim go into it a little bit about how he arrived at wanting to run that and what he thinks about it.
Let me tell you what I really liked about this system. First of all, I really like the free league games. I think the fact that they're genre specific and they tailor the rules to the genre, I think it's a masterstroke, and I'm really happy with that aspect of it. I'm not sucking up to them to get a free book or anything like that. If you see some free league books over there, I bought them. I really do think that's awesome. For Walking Dead, the rules really, really revolve around this concept of relationships. Mm-hmm. That everybody exists in a web of relationships. There are people that there are NPCs that are connected to you, and there are PCs that are connected to you, and you have to honor that relationship because it has real impact on the choices that you make and the things that you're doing. Like, for those of you who are coming to this this live stream tonight from the success of the Dragonbane live action series that we've been doing, I want to say in that game, I tried to push really hard for the fact that Quiverwing and Chris's character Siggy are really good friends. I tried in a number of places and times to try to reinforce that, but it's not necessary. So at any time that Chris wants to, Siggy can run off and do something that doesn't support Quiverwing. But if that choice was being made in the Walking Dead universe, in that game system with those rules in place, there would be very real ramifications for Chris's character if that relationship wasn't honored. And I think that's amazing. I think that's really good. If you happen to have a group of friends that have a hard time, like, I have been in gaming groups in the past where basically you sit down and then they all try to kill each other. because they all want to prove that they have the best D&D character, or they have the best paladin. No, I'm that isn't really moving a story forward either. That's just arena on a tabletop, right? It's not fun for me. So they force that kind of, I don't want to say camaraderie, but they force that interaction to be an important thing in the game, and I love that about this system.
Well, I got up one of the pages from the rule book, and what's interesting is that, in a lot of games we play, you might run into NPCs, or maybe you hire a hireling or something like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This game thrusts you in a group of NPCs already.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no escaping this sort of social web because, like you said, it's part of the game. So this is when you start the game, you have 5 NPC survivors in your group. They live with you in your haven, and the GM may give you 5 pre-generated starting NPC survivors, or you can determine them randomly, right? And I think, what is it? You start with it's like a bond or something with one PC and one NPC.
One
right?
NPC. And there are some advantages and disadvantages that will manipulate that. But in general, yeah, that's the case.
Like the
Yeah.
one you wouldn't let me have.
Correct. I didn't want you to be a wallflower. Yeah,
I know.
you wanted you. What was your character archetyping? Was it outsider or was it
The nobody.
the nobody? You wanted to play the nobody who didn't have any friends. I'm like, sorry, man. The whole point of me running this game is to figure out how this
Yeah,
relationship
you
thing
can't
is
be a
gonna work.
loner.
So you don't like it when people take disadvantages and turn them into advantages.
Well, it makes sense in the game because then those who don't watch Walking Dead, people are thrust together who are
Right.
to survive. And if your group isn't working well together, you're not going to survive. And even if you do
Yeah.
work well together, you might not survive. So, and it's very competitive. There's a lot of things against you, not just the undead, the walkers. It's also other groups, which are from the series, and some of them are worse than others, but they all are bad in some sense. And Tim played that up pretty well.
Appreciate it.
So, yeah, because I was a big fan of The Walking Dead for several seasons actually, and then I just got burned out on it.
Yeah. Oh, well, so in preparation for this, because I made the decision in the summertime that I was going to run Walking Dead, I watched the entire series again.
Ooh.
And I'm actually right now on season 4 or 5 of Fear the Walking Dead because I'd
Which is-
never even tried to watch that
Which
one
wasn't
before.
bad either. Yeah, it had
No,
some
it's
interesting
just-
caps.
Like all TV shows, the first season or two is kind of rough, and then they get into the swing of things, and it gets better. That Fear the Walking Dead's, I think, in the same category.
I definitely feel like I had more mood swings with Fear of the Walking Dead. Like because there were certain things I really liked. Like I really like that they start before the zombie as things are falling apart. Because I tend to find some of that, like any zombie movie, like a lot of my favorite parts is when everything is collapsing.
It goes to
That,
shit.
that moment, right? Because it's such a dangerous time, right? You see that at the beginning of The Last of Us, or all the but I really liked a lot of the characters, like the junkie, the boy, the son, right? But just hated the mom. just hated that character.
Madison.
Yeah. And so I
little bit
had
of a
lot
sociopath.
had a lot of up and down with that show, but I thought it did take. It was different enough that I felt like I was watching a separate show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then Morgan shows up.
Right.
Oh yeah. They had to tie it in.
Yeah.
Well, he was a great character in concept.
Yeah, he is.
He is. There's some great character concepts in both those shows.
They did lose me when Daryl suddenly appeared in France, though. I'm honest. I watched one episode of that, and not that I didn't like it. I don't know. I couldn't make the mental leap.
You don't like the juxtaposition of a hillbilly in Paris? I mean, come on.
Well, I don't know. It just felt like, I don't know. Maybe I just should have watched more because it didn't really explain in the first episode, like why he's there. So
I had a personal bet with myself that I could use a word like juxtaposition in a sentence with the word like hillbilly, and make it make sense.
And now you've done it.
I won.
Yeah.
Good night, folks.
That's in Tim's book of things he has to do. He wrote that when he was 12, by the way. But yeah, so The Walking Dead is like, I don't know. I love the whole zombie thing. That was my thing, and then I got actually burned out on it a little bit, believe it or not. So then and it's like aliens. I like certain, you like certain things, but I haven't seen Romulus because I'm like, how can you beat number 1 and number 2?
So
aliens.
from a story perspective, I'm always looking for the meaning behind, Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. It's all about poverty and how it changes the poor. I mean, you can talk about any genre, any great story of the every single zombie, anything is about thoughtlessness. It's about man's inhumanity to man that happens when you're thoughtless, when you don't care about your fellow human. And that's all it's about. That's 100% of what all zombies are about. So
yeah, very, very little. I mean, there are a few movies where maybe they're more humorous,
now.
whatever, but it tends to be in most of the genre. If you watch zombie movies, zombies tend to be window dressing. right?
Yeah.
And even in, I would say the more humorous, but I really liked. Did you ever watch Z Nation?
Yeah.
Oh, C Nation's
Yeah.
a trip. That's a
Z
silly
Nation's
show. It's
great,
good.
right?
I love it though.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's same thing there too. You would argue that the worst people are people. The worst
Yeah.
monsters are the people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it goes with any like apocalyptic movie or something. The worst aspects of people that are hidden because the society makes them hide it come out, right? But also some of the best aspects because of people come out. It's just that for the purpose of The Walking Dead, the whole thing is about the bad aspects of people. The good people end up getting fucking smoked.
Well, sometimes, I mean, so you mentioned relationships, but there's also
Yeah.
haven, right? So can you explain the haven concept to folks who maybe have
So
not played?
everybody feels comfortable at home, right? That's where you've got everything established for yourself. And your haven in this game, we didn't get to explore it much because it's kind of a long-term campaign
Goal.
hook
Yeah.
for the system, but you can develop projects for your haven, and you can say you want to build a wind generator, right? A turbine generator. You can develop that as a project, and that project has a certain number of I don't know. There's a certain amount of effort associated with doing it that can be tracked on your character sheet, because the character sheet itself captures your haven projects and what are you doing in order to forward that goal. It's like it's a bit like having a goal for your character that's part of your story. Like if you were playing a fantasy character and he happens to be, or she happens to be, a knight or a fighter or whatever, and the goal for that character is to get plate armor. That's the goal. They want to get plate armor. So every episode there should be some opportunity to, maybe you find another piece of steel, or you you do a good deed for a blacksmith who's willing to do some work for you, or whatever, and it just moves it forward a little bit. But yeah, they do have some pre-built. You're showing now some pre-built starting havens. I used these for our starter game, in that there was the one with the you have to scroll down a bit. There was one for the Oh no, there was a no, it was in the wolves.
In the adventure? Okay.
Yeah, there's an adventure that comes in the starter pack, and I tailored the one for the wolves to be the one for us. Really, really good. It came with maps, came with descriptions of all the NPCs and all their stuff. There wasn't much for me to do there, except all of the people that were in our group. There were so many people in our group. It was really only set up for like 4 PCs that would go with 4 NPCs, and we had like 8 just to ourselves, basically, or 7 to ourselves. So hell, I didn't even bring Malcolm's character along because Malcolm didn't make it to Geek Weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Which is so, and for folks out there, if you've the closest, so I play a lot of like zombie survival video games also. I would say the closest thing I've seen to this kind of mechanic in a video game is if you've played, for those out there, State of Decay. State of Decay has a very similar, and State of Decay 2 have a very similar thing where you have survivors and you have NPCs and you pick basically a haven, and there's like slots, and you can maybe you want to put an infirmary or you want to put a repair shop. It's a very similar look and feel to that. So that's my plug on the video game there, but yeah. So what about what kind of characters, like what was the character generation of people maybe familiar? Was it very much like other Free League titles, or were there some nuances?
Character generation wasn't that tough. It's a points-based system. You just have you have a certain number of dots that you can fill in for your attributes, and a certain number of dots that you can fill in for your skills, and they make some suggestions along the lines of, you had up there your character archetypes. There's the criminal, the law enforcement guy, the doctor, the scientist, the kid, the nobody. These are all archetypes, and they make recommendations on where you should be spending your skills. Like, what are your top skills? What kind of what kind of talents you should be picking, what's your key attribute. See those on the box up there? And yeah, it recommended wallflower. I see that. but I wanted you to explore the relationships. I know exactly what you were zoning in. I wish you was zooming in on there. But yeah, no, it's a great system. If you want to be able to pick it up and play it quickly, I think you can do that. I wanted to have a little bit of a story. I needed the story to end with someone in need of medical support, because I do have, in preparation for the game, I was intending to play a game where you guys had been in the apocalypse for like 5 years, and then I stupidly put out that poll on Discord asking what did you guys want to do, and like 7 out of 7 of you picked I want it to be early on in the zombie apocalypse. I needed it to be fairly early. So I'm like, yeah, man, this doesn't work for that. But yeah, but I have notes and graphics and things all set up for a longer game that I might run at some point that centers on what happens in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Why Blacksburg, Virginia?
No, not Blacksburg. No, it's not Blacksburg. Where is it? It's hold on a second.
Are you talking where the Green Briar is?
I think
That's
so.
West Virginia. That's West Virginia.
No.
Talk about whatchamacallit. It's down there.
Harrisonburg, Virginia. Harrisonburg,
okay.
Because that's where James Madison University is, and that's where I have these NPCs all specced out. I know what their backstories are, and they have a haven set up at the. I'm not giving too much away here, but at Bridgeforth Stadium is their haven.
Oh wow!
Well, my next cop I play. I'll be,
well, there's a story there too.
right.
But yeah, no, it's funny. I came up with the idea of using Bridgeforth Stadium before I even saw season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, where they all live at a baseball stadium. This is a football stadium, but it occurred to me it has walls pretty much all around it. It has secure gates. It has enough arable land that you could feed some people. It's got covered roofs and concrete, and you're not worried about wood that's going to burn. It's a good option. And at JMU, it also happens to be right next door to their natatorium, which is a pool. For those of you who don't know what a natatorium is, it's a pool, so you have a source of water as well, and the ability to filter that water. So that's pretty cool too.
That's big.
Yeah, it's a great haven. Unfortunately, it's in the hands of people who don't know how to use it. So that would be the goal. Is
We're just gonna take it from them by force.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
So if you're familiar with the sort of free league games, there's a lot of systems that are very similar. Like I think when you want to do something, it's kind of like it's dice pools, right? It's I'm trying to remember. It's only been like a month and a half already. It's like talent plus like skill or something like that, and sixes or successes. And so combat between people is pretty straightforward, but zombies are
opposed roles. Opposed rules can be pretty difficult, because if you tie, nothing happens.
Right.
But if you win by just a little bit, if he rolls 6 dice and you roll 7 dice and he wins by 1, like he got three successes and you got 2, all the damage comes from him. And that feels a little bit unbalanced, because it doesn't allow for a Pyrrhic victory where you can harm each other.
Right.
So there's that. I'm sorry.
But combat with zombies is very different. It's a whole different system in this. So it's. Can you explain a little bit how players, when it does, because inevitably. So and the thing is, it can happen anytime. I think that's one thing
It did.
that it took us like a little bit of mentally preparing for, that there can be a zombie in any scene. We may not see them when the scene starts, but if you critically fail a roll, your foot goes through a floorboard and there's a zombie that was under there or something. It's like they're always there.
In the system, they call it messing up. if you mess up on a roll, which means that you have botches and no successes. Basically, it's how you do it. Or if you roll on a stress die, a 1 on a stress die, and there are always stress dice, and there will always be stress in this game. It's almost impossible to play a game without having stress at some point, because everything produces stress. But in those situations, if you get a 1 on a stress die, or do one of these other things that are left here, you can see this. It can generate a zombie. It can do other things. It could cause you to sprain an ankle. It can cause you to, I don't know. It could cause you to piss off somebody that you're connected with romantically. Which, I mean, how often do you do that accidentally with your spouse? It's realistic in that way, but I'm not a fan of the Boolean kind of architecture for the way that they have these opposed roles. It's either all one way or all the other way. I feel like there ought to be some way to harmonize that, and even if all you're doing is throwing a hand grenade at somebody and you succeed, there's impact on you. There should be some impact on you, if they get some success somewhere, somehow.
What's funny about that is that you see that exists in a few systems that one system that we've definitely played a long time ago was the Star Wars Edge of the Empire.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Had that. And then from what I have seen in previews, in fact, one of the people we might talk to in the future is someone who is running, testing that new Daggerheart role-playing system that Critical Role is developing. They have kind of what you're talking about. Like you roll I think it's 2d12s, and you add them together. So let's say your target number is 12, but one of your d12s is like a light die and the other is a dark die. You roll the 2 and add them up. You beat the 12, you succeed. But if the higher number was on the dark die, you succeed with a consequence. So right?
That's interesting. I like that.
You can also fail with the highest number that you roll be the light die, and you can fail with some sort of positive. So there's nuance there. That nuance you're talking about exists. Not most systems are Boolean, like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But there are a few out there that
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really live in a black and white world. We live in a different shades of gray kind of a world, right? So I'm not. If what you're looking for is a story, and the story has to reflect reality in some way,
yeah,
then you're looking for that from your game system, which is why I guess I'm not a big fan of game mechanics. I would much prefer to have a story that makes sense to people at the end of the game, that they can wrap their heads around and be like, oh yeah, it was cool when that happened. Not, it was cool that he rolled a natural 20 and then a negative, got a 1 on his next roll, and something great happened, and then he stubbed his toe and died because of hemorrhaging from the toe. I mean, I'd much prefer it to make sense. It's got to make sense because these stories all live in the theater of the mind, right? The GM's whole role in the gaming structure is to create the common mental model for what we're all doing. I know we make fun of Tolkien and the fact that he could spend 20 pages of his book describing a tree, but the reality is that he was trying to describe something so that the reader was in the same spot. The reader needed to be in the same spot, and that's what we need to do around the table, because we don't often. Sometimes we do, but we don't often have pictures and things that will help us to get, like, how important is it for you to show the picture of the bugbear or the zombie horde or whatever? Show those people so that we're all experiencing the same thing.
No, it's good. So get everybody on the same page, or at least give them an idea of what,
Yeah.
some people need help visualizing, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's something we all try and do in the game. Some of us do better than otherwise. I mean, I don't run anything. So I'm always a player regardless. it seems. But hey,
Don't
that's fine.
don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah,
the game.
I hate the game.
So
Yeah.
so with the undead in this, so like I said before, like right, there's duels, like you and I get into a fight, right?
Yeah.
There's brawls, which are kind of what we had in the game, right? We ended up having
Mass combat system. Yeah.
right, and then you have
Yeah.
the dead.
Yeah.
And the dead is almost a third system where it's just all based on a threat level, right? Things that you do,
Yeah, it's true.
fail rolls, or you set off an explosion, or you something happens that creates. And I guess the idea is that as you make noise, as things happen, the horde gets bigger and bigger, and the way you fight, it's almost like in other role-playing games when you're fighting a swarm, right? You're not attacking the individual rat. There's kind of like the swarm. And so one thing I liked about the rules I thought was cool is, like, let's say the group there's a bunch of zombies start falling into the sea, whatever, they're encountering a bunch of zombies. The narrative, there are mechanics, but I like the fact that players can choose any way they want to deal with that zombie threat. So someone with a gun might go, well, I shoot some zombies to clear the way, but I might be like wiry and quick, and I might be like, well, I'm gonna scramble up this pole and get out of the way or something. You can kind of pick how you want to do it and roll an appropriate skill and have success against the dead, but it doesn't have to just be I stab the undead. You could deal with the threat in multiple different ways, as long as you can be creative and you've got a skill that you can map it to.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there isn't anything stopping you from, killing a zombie, pulling it into the bathroom, ripping open its guts, dousing yourself with blood, and then walk out of the room. You can do that. And that is not the same as I whip out a flamethrower and burn them all in place from my choke point in the corner. Because I think a lot of us are very used to, I always think of it as a BattleTech archetype, where we see ourselves as set pieces on a grid map, and we're looking for how do we use the terrain to use our ranged weaponry, and then when they close on us, how do we make best use of our melee weaponry? That's not really part of the story in my mind. That's just how to kill 101. But the fact that they open it up so that every single 6 zombies drop from the rotted out ceiling of the room that you're in. Now you're in a room with 6 zombies. What do? Everybody has some skill, unless you roll the way Sean rolled in Dragonbane. Everybody has some skill, some attribute that they could take advantage of, that they could leverage to get out of that situation. It doesn't have to be a gun, doesn't have to be a knife, doesn't have to be the flamethrower or the hand grenade. It can be savvy. It can be something else.
Yeah. Well, in Walking Dead, in the show, that happens a lot. You had one of the antagonists was the governor. So the governor, they do a background on the governor, see how he went, the direction he went. They always try and do that. They did it with Negan, and it's one of the scenes. His daughter's playing on a mound. It's dirt. All of a sudden, the zombie hand comes up. She gets bit.
Yep.
And that's it. That's literally what you're talking about. And and then there's characters who are like in Fear the Walking Dead, the character, the son, who was a great actor who had to leave the series, he figured out real quick, I'll just spear guts on me. And he just walks right by, and that's how it gets out. He wasn't a fighter or a warrior. He was smart, savvy.
He was a survivor. He was scrappy,
and he survived. And the only reason he got taken out was because the character guy who was an actor, he had other commitments in England. But then, but the story did do some shit like that. They have great characters who still have bad stuff just happen to them.
Yeah.
Well, they just as a couple of examples, as I know we're getting a little past our time.
Yep.
So just you think of like the human decisions in combat and the different varied things you could do. I just wanted to point a couple of these out because when I was reading through, they stuck with me. So, I mean, because this has happened in the show, and this is what
you can sacrifice someone else,
right? Which literally Tim was talking about, like these 3 League wrote. So this is where I do like mechanics work if they support the kind of genre, story, or setting, and so they've got roles for right, pushing somebody else in the way.
Hannah,
Right? I mean,
Hannah,
it's
you
happened.
bitch.
I
You
just have to
bitch.
run in front of you.
Yep. And then even, I even like this one too, this
Mhm.
desperate escape, right?
Mhm.
It's just kind of, you think of, what was it, Glenn, right? When he's underneath that, everyone thought he was going to
Under the
die,
dumpster.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just like the character can do this. If they make it, they're good, but they can't do anything else. They're stuck. And it says here, the fate of the PC is now in the GM's hands, right? But it does
Yeah.
keep them alive in what would normally be,
A
an
no-win situation.
Right. But so there's a lot of flexibility, but it's systems and things that were written in to allow the GM and the characters to tell very familiar stories from the things that we have seen in many, not just The Walking Dead, but in many of these games. So, and again, there's a lot more to it. I mean, there's just a ton. It's a great book. It's a great read.
Really great
It's-
art.
Yeah,
great art.
It's
In there,
great art.
It's
Tim, we had a blast at Geek Weekend. We really enjoyed
playing
the
that.
game that you ran. So
Thanks. Yeah, and I don't run very often, but when I do, I try to care enough to give you a good story.
nice.
Yeah, so anybody who wants to play it, we would recommend Walking Dead Universe. If you're looking for something a little different, a little more gritty, but enjoyable, and something that you can make it what you want, like any of the games. So Walking Dead Universe, and thank you. I hope you enjoyed Tim's interview. We're gonna sign off now. We've hit our threshold. Some of us have to work in the morning. But anyway, thank you all once again. And Tim, thanks for coming. Got any final words?
No, hey, thanks for finally giving me my cast interview after 2 damn years.
Yep. Now, the funny thing is nobody else was aware me and Matt were doing this. We actually only figured it out like 2 minutes, and Matt said, "Hey, we should interview." I said, "We are going to."
Yeah. I was like, hey, we got him for a whole hour. We should probably,
Just interview him. So,
Cool.
Matt, you got anything?
That's it. So I gotta say again, everybody, thanks for checking this out. If you are catching this recorded, I would definitely highly recommend, if you see some of their Tim stuff, is to check him out as Quivering, our lightning
Quiver
cast-
Ring.
Quiver
You're
Ring.
Quiver
Wing.
Quiver Wing.
Quiver Wing, our lightning casting duck on our Dragon Age game.
Dragon Bane game.
I can't. You know what? This is what happens after 10 o'clock.
So
I just
Quivering,
lose all
Tim's character
cognitive
Quivering.
ability.
Yes, on Dragon Bane, which we might be finishing. And it might go out with a bang for at least one character.
Matt, you need to evolve from PowerPoint to Prezi. It'll help you with your mind.
Resi. Okay. What's
and on that
is that
bombshell,
another? Yeah.
everybody, good night.
Take
Good
care.
night.
everybody.
Good night.